Welcome back to the workshop. So we thought we'd mix things up a little bit. We've been doing quite a few bottle opener videos. We've made a few sharp and pointy objects and a couple of random things like bail hooks and stuff over the last 12 months and different projects over the last couple of years. Obviously we've rebranded the channel. We've taken Born a Forge down and changed to Phoenix Forge, which is what the business is after all, to sort of streamline things a little bit. That kind of made sense. And as part of that then we thought we'd give you a bit of a behind the scenes view about what goes on around the workshop and sort of life as a blacksmith in the modern day, because it isn't all stood on the anvil, stood on the forge rather, behind an anvil, swinging a hammer all day, throwing hot sparks around the place. It's kind of what we enjoy about it, but that's not sort of the day-to-day reality, especially in the sort of 21st century. So, you know, who am I? Well, my name's William Holland. I'm an artist blacksmith based in Carmarthen in South Wales, in the UK, for those of you who don't know, not in Australia or New Zealand. I'm not sure where New South Wales is, it's somewhere out there. So I got into smithing from making knives. That was my first passion. I bought in blades that other people had made and then made handles to fit them, and I quite enjoyed that. And then after a while I went along and did a blacksmithing short course, one weekend in class with another smith up the road, and really enjoyed it. You know, I found it interesting and engaging, and creating something from scratch was eye-opening. You know, you so much flexibility and freedom to sort of explore and develop. That blacksmith turned around to me and said, well, you know, well, if you want to do this as a career and you want to do this for the rest of your life, then go to Hereford, go to the National School of Blacksmithing and have a play, you know. So I went up there, spent 3 years, absolutely loved it. I was doing all sorts before. I was in the army, working in a butchery, doing all sorts of things. But then when I discovered blacksmithing, that was it, that was me sold. And I've tried a few other things since when things have got tough. But I keep coming back to blacksmithing. I absolutely love being on the forge, love making and creating stuff. That's why I found breaking my arm recently so frustrating, is because I've been stuck in the office and I want to make stuff. And Hereford is an amazing place. At some stage we'll give you a guided tour. I'll go and blag my way through the door and we'll give you a guided tour of their setup and their forge, because it's awesome up there. I met loads of great mates that are still working as smiths today. My buddy who I set this business up, Phoenix Forge, up with, Sam, he's no longer working with me in the forge, but we worked together for 6-7 years, on and off, and we got on absolutely brilliantly. And eventually things got a little bit difficult in the workshop and he decided to go off and do something different. He still comes in and helps me out with sight fitting occasionally, and was helping me out after I broke my hand recently, so cheers Sam. And yeah, so that's what got me into smithing, and it's been a difficult 10 years. It is not an easy business. If you think you're going to make loads of money smithing, trust me, you're in. It's not that sort of business. It's more for the passion and the fact that you get to create interesting things. That's what draws people in, and you know, that's what's keeping me sort of passionate about being a smith. And yeah, it's difficult. You know, you will find there are customers out there who don't want to pay your bills. You get invoices that turn up because you've forgotten to pay that steel bill, and sometimes that gets a bit scary. So yeah, we'll explore some of those things in some upcoming vlogs that we do. Maybe talk a bit about sort of the business behind things as well. And it takes a long time. You know, there are a few lucky smiths out there who I met at Hereford whose fathers were blacksmiths or their granddads were blacksmiths and running forges, and they got a much easier time of it because they came out of college into a fully kitted out workshop, and okay, they had the family disputes going on like Floyd did. But no, they were lucky, you know, they were fortunate, you know, they had all that kit there ready to go. When I finished Hereford, I had an anvil that my parents had bought me for my 21st birthday, back when anvils cost like 100 quid. And unfortunately, I made at college. That was all I had. I had a few hammers and a few tongs that I made while I was a student. And everything else that you'll see on the videos around the workshop, I've had to sweat and bleed for that. And I'm going to go pick up some more kit tomorrow, which I've had to sweat and get broken for. But that's part of it, you know, that's part of the fun. It's part of what makes it worthwhile. If you're not sweating, if you're not enjoying it, if you're not prepared to bleed and, you know, get hurt for what you're passionate about, what's the point? You know, why do it? Keep an interest in your work. Well, that's something that's really difficult, is keeping that passion going, and something that I find, especially working on the bigger projects that I tend to work on, is that you'd be working on them for 2, 3, 4, 5 months, day after day. It can get a bit tiring, get a bit boring. The first week is really exciting. You're starting that new project, it's great. And the last week, when it's all coming together and you just got a little bit of touching up here and there to do and a few little minor tweaks, that's brilliant too. So you see that project come together. But that chunk in the middle can be a slog. And that's why I started teaching smithing. We opened the workshop up on Saturdays, most weeks, and invite complete beginners into the workshop, and they can come along and have a play. It helps me keep that trade alive and feel like I'm giving something back to the community. It's another reason that I like YouTube and filming videos for you guys, is that I feel that I took a lot of skills from other people, a lot of training from some brilliant smiths out there, and some of you guys on YouTube as well. And it's nice to give some of those skills back to you guys, show you some different techniques, some different tools that you might not have thought about using, using hammers in different ways, using things like the fly press for different jobs, and some of the other kit, and how to build gas forges and start from scratch. It's nice doing that sort of thing, and it's why I love teaching. We're probably going to film some of the forge classes that we've got coming up, certainly the ones in the new year. So I normally run an axe making class, a knife making class, tool making. What else do we do, Kristen?
Beginner blacksmithing.
Beginner smithing, and we've actually started a sword making class as well, which is awesome. So we've got a few of those coming up in the new year. So we're going to film some of those. We're starting a Patreon page as well for 2021. So if you guys want to help us out, help us to make more interesting content for you guys, then sign up to that, and you'll be able to access things like the digital version of our forging classes. We know a lot of you guys are out in America or out in India or Russia or wherever, and you can't get across to sunny old Wales. And so we're going to put that sort of content up on Patreon for you, and some of it will find its way to YouTube as well. So that'd be quite interesting. And the other thing you can do to help us make more content as well is buying some of our branded work gear. So I've got some new jumpers out. Some of these, the Hammer Time ones, which are quite fun. They got it in big on the back. I don't know what's in shot on the camera. But they're quite cool. I've got some other cool designs that I'll release bit by bit as well. They're not too expensive, and the money that they generate goes into helping film new videos. So it's quite difficult putting time aside. Something I do struggle with is filming for YouTube, and I know a lot of YouTubers struggle with that too, is that I've got to pay the bills. I've got to keep the lights on in the workshop, I've got to keep my staff fed, keep them paid and happy, and that can be a bit tricky. So the purpose of this blog, as I mentioned at the start, is to give you a bit of a behind the scenes look, because we're not always making interesting, exciting content just for YouTube. I've got bills to pay. As a result, I've got to do bigger projects that bring in that money to keep the forge alive. So at the moment, I'm currently working on this gate down here. This is a side gate for a client about 20 miles up the road from the workshop. It's a completely forged gate. There's no fabrication on this at all at the moment, although the tree is going to be a bit fabro-forged. So it's going to have a few welds on there just to keep the budget down, because there isn't a huge amount of money on this job. So we've got a hot punched frame, we've got hot punched holes, we've got tenons on the end of the bars, some hot forming going on, and it's basically, it incorporates an oak tree into the side gate. It's very similar to the gate that I put up a few months ago on the YouTube channel, because it's for the same client. It's actually going on the same property. We want to keep that theme rolling. I've also got some railings to make up a flight of stairs for the client, external set of staircase. So I'm gonna do that as well, and that's going to be in a very similar style. So there will be like oak tree elements in that as well, with little oak leaves and some acorns and stuff, which is why I made an acorn swage video a little while ago. So check that one out. What else have we been up to this week? We've been finishing off some cut and shut gates that we made for a local client. Completely different end of the spectrum. We've got our posh forged gates, and we also do the cheap cut and shut stuff, because I've got to keep the bills paid and keep the staff busy. What else have we been up to? Tuesday this week, I had a bit of a trip out. I've got a new dragon sculpture that I'm going to start in the new year, so I needed a rock that forms the base of this sculpture. So I disappeared up to the top of the mountains above Swansea and Neath, went up to Marshall's Specialist Stone Quarry, which is a great big hole in the top of this mountain. It's brilliant. You know, there's rocks bigger than my workshop up there, just like strewn around the place. So that was quite cool. Got to like explore the quarry, pick out a load of stones. I haven't had the bill yet. So yeah, that might be a painful one when it arrives. But yeah, they should get turned. They should arrive sometime this week, next week. And then hopefully I can start that dragon sculpture as well. So that'd be cool. That's coming up. We will film that for YouTube. You can also, if you want to, I know a lot of stuff doesn't always make it to YouTube with me, and I sometimes end up a bit too busy. So you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram as well. And I tend to put pictures on there every couple of days of what we're working on, where we are, bit of site fitting, all those sorts of things. Not always the most glamorous stuff. Our Instagram page isn't as exciting and pretty as maybe some of the other ones out there, because it's a bit more honest. We're showing you sort of what we actually do, rather than a sort of pretty that everyone else tend to put up. Well, thank you guys for watching. I hope you find this new vlog series that we're going to be doing interesting and informative. If there's stuff you want to see, if you've got questions, drop them in the comments below. We do read your comments and we will try and reply to as many as possible. If you've got questions, I like to sort of keep them all together so that we've got some content for Q&A sessions. So we did one a couple months ago and that was quite good. I've got hopefully filming a new one for you guys soon. Yeah, remember to hit that like and subscribe button and hit the notification tab, and we'll see you next time in the workshop. Cheers guys.